Right, what none of the other VW Golf MK7 videos on YouTube seem to portray is how to remove rear springs from a standard Golf with a beam axle. So hopefully I'm going to demonstrate how that may be done. Unlike the videos that you can see on there so far, you just seem to be able to drop a wishbone effectively down and take your spring out easy. But of course with a beam axle you can't do that. When I say beam axle, I'll try and show you here. The axle there goes right across the car to the far side, effectively really meaning that you've got to do both sides at once because you've got to drop the entire axle. What I'm going to try and attempt to do to get this spring, this broken spring out here, is to use spring compressors. Just as a tip, by the way, for those of you like me who are stuck trying to find somewhere to put an axle stand in order to make the car safe while you've got the jack under the jacking point, hopefully you can see that what I've done to get around this is put a 4x4 wooden chock between the wheels of my jack and the jack itself, so if the jack does collapse, hopefully it'll only collapse as far as the piece of timber. Just a tip. Okay, so slight modification to what I said initially. If we look under here, you can see that what I've had to do is put a jack under the back of the extension to the beam axle that supports the shock absorber. I've taken the shock absorber bolt out and let the beam axle down about 2+ inches further than it would have travelled down if it was still bolted to the shock absorber. Update. I found that by putting a lever in through this convenient hole that's underneath the mounting for the shock absorber, I put a lever in through there, and by prising that axle down just another inch or so, I finally managed to put a screwdriver underneath that top mounting there, between the top mounting and the spring, and with some brute force and ignorance I managed to ping the spring out, and there is the offending article there. And just to show what my particular problem is, the spring's actually sheared off at the bottom, so I'm hoping that I just need to reverse this procedure to get a new one in. Okay, update, it worked. I had to get my wife to stand on the end of the bar in the end that we had levered through here to pull the suspension down another couple of inches, but with her weight on there, new spring inserted. The only other thing I would just let you know about is that this nut here, this bolt rather, has got a captive nut on this side, so you don't need to hang on to this nut to undo and withdraw this bolt. I had a spanner on there, but it was a total waste of time. It stayed there anyway, and that's it. You just need to lever it back down again to put the new spring in, as I've done. Make sure that you locate the spring in the correct part of that rubber socket up there and the one down in there. They've got a stop. There's a groove with a stop on it in the rubber socket. Actually, the one at the top, beg your pardon, can go anywhere. It's just a circular ridge around it, but the one at the bottom needs to be located, and the socket needs to be located, as you can see, by that little rubber pin just there. Stops you putting the socket if you do need to remove that rubber socket. I didn't anyway, it stayed in situ, so I just had to make sure that the spring sat in the correct place in that socket, but it's quite clear to see once you've got the old spring out. Anyway, good luck.